Suhradayaga Vasai Ram Sarachabdhan Atultavaladham Himshalabadeham Dhanujavan Krishan Gyaninam Graganyam Sakala Guna Nidhana Vanaranam Madhisham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Vatajatam Namani Pushpadi Krito Arisham Mashiki Krita Rakshasam Ramayana Mahamalaratnam Vande Nilatmajam Anjananandaram Viram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisam Akshantaram Vande Lanka Bhayankaram Langa Sindho Salilam Salilam Yashokavahi Ranakatma Jaya Adaitane Dadahalanka Namamitam Pranjali Ranjanayam Manojavam Maruttatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Vardishtam Vatatmajam Vanardayutamukyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadhe Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadhe Anjaneyam Matipatalanam Kanchanadri Kamaniya Vigraham Parijata Taramula Vasanam Bhavayami Pavamananandanam Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Kritamastakhanjali Vashpavadi Paripurnalochanam Martinamat Rakshasantakam Guru Bajranga Bali Hanuman Ki Jai. Ram, Rama. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Rama, 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 Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. Sitaram, Sitaram Jai Sitaram. Banda Guru Padakanda, Kripav Sindhu Nararupa Hare, Mahamurtamapunj, Jasu Bachana Rabikaranaka, Akhanda Mandalakaram, Yaptam Jena Characharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yen, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Agyan Chindirandasya Gyananjana Salaka Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Guru Madhye Stita Mata Matri Madhye Stito Guru Guru Mata Namastestu Matri Guru Namamyaham. Dhyanamulam Guru Murti Pujamulam Guru Padam Mantramulam Guru Vakyam Mokshamulam Guru Kripa. Shri Guru Charanam Shri Hari Sharanam 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 Shri Guru Charanam Shri Hari Sharanam. Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Shri Guru Charan Saroj Raj Jaman Makru Sudhari Varna Raghubar Damala Jasu Chodayak Palachari Buddhihin Tana Janake Sumiram Pavan Kuma Siyaram Balabuddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Karu Kales Bikal Syavara Ramachanda Parajay Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Gyana Gunasag Jaya Kapi Sati Hulo tu Ram kaj karibe ko at Prabhu charita sunibe ko rasiya Ram lakhan sita mana basi Sukshma rupa darisya hindekar Vikhat rupa dare lanka charar Bhima rupa dare asura sahar Ramachandra ke kaj samar Aya sajivan lakhan jiyai Virabhubira harashi uralai Raghupati kini vohut barai Tumama priya varatai samabhai Sahasavadana tumaro jasagave Sakahi Shripati Khanda lagave Sanakadika Brahma Vimunisa Narada Sharada Sahita Ahisa Yamakuver Digapal Jahanti Rabiko Vidakai Sake Kahan Upakara Sugriva Inkin Rama Milaya Rajapadadina Umaro Manta Vibhishanaman Lankeshwara Vaisabha Jagajana Yuga Sahasra Jojan Paraman Ilyota Himadura Palajan Prabhu Mudrika Mele Mukamani Jaladilange Gaya Charajanai Durgama Kaja Jagat Ke Jet Sugamatano Gratumare Tete Ram Duare Tumaratore Otanagya Bina Blazar Sab Sukla He Tumhari Sharan Mara Chakakahu Podaran Apana Teja Samaro Ape Dino Lokaham Katinkam Uttasashan Katanahi Ave Mahavira Jabanam Sanar Nasero Gahare Sabapir Japatanirandara Matabir Sankatatenuman Churave Anakrama Bachana Dhana Jola Abhaparanam Tapasaviraja Inake Kaja Sakala Tumasaj Oramanorata Choko Lave Soe Amita Chirana Palapam Charon Yuga Paratap Tumar He Parasid Jagat Ujia Sadhu Santa Ke Tumarakovar Asura Nikandana Ramadular Ashta Siddhi Noni Dike Data Asvaradina Janaki Mata Rama Rasayan Tumare Pasa Sadaro Raghupati Ke Dasa Tumare Bhajana Rama Ko Pave Janama Janama Ke Dukha Bisarave Antakala Raghupara Pura Jai Jahan Janma Hare Bhakta Kahai Lord Devata Chittana Dharai Anumata Se Isava Sukha Karai Sankata Kate Mite Sabapir Jo Sumire Anumata Valavir Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai Pakaro Gurudev Kinai Jo Satabar Pat Kadakoi Shuddhi Bandi Mahasukha Hoy Joya Pare Hanuman Sudabhupa Yavara Ramachandra Paraja Sharanam Mangalamurti Marutanandam Sakala Mangalamuranikam Mangalamurti Marutanandam Sakala Mangalamuranikam Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram
Okay, stop pretending to meditate. I remember once I was at a place called Brighton Bush with Ram Dass. We were doing a retreat there, and this was after his stroke, and there was a Chinese medical practitioner on Maui who was treating Ram Dass, and he told Ram Dass he wanted to work on his brain with the needles, and but in order to do that, Ram Dass would have to stop smoking pot, which he smoked every day of his life. And he never gave a lecture without getting stoned first in 50 years. So now we were sitting there at Brighton Bush, and he said, well, no, I've got to stop smoking so he can work on my brain. What'll I talk about? And he had a lot of anxiety. I said, listen, here's the deal. You just go out there and you say, we'll sit in silence until somebody has something to say. And he said, that will never work. I said, would you just fucking try it? So we rolled him out there. And he says, we will sit in silence until someone has something to say. Every hand went up. Immediately. 150 hands. Boom. He looked at me, I looked at him, I said, you know. One time, Ram Dass would get into the ocean on Monday mornings. And it was the only time he loved it, because the only time he was free of the weight of his body. Sitting in a wheelchair for 20 years, you know. So they would get up and go to the ocean, and I would catch up to them later in the day, according to my own time schedule. So then I get there. So I got there one day, and I'm walking towards the water. I parked the car, and I see over in the corner of the parking lot, Ram Dass is sitting alone in his car, in the passenger seat. And the door is open, and he's just sitting there, looks like that. So I walked over, and I stood next to him outside the door. And he gave me a dirty look, and he looks at me and he says, I'm a fake. And you're a fake too. I looked at him and I said, yeah, but we're real fakes. He almost fell out of the car laughing, you know? I love to make him laugh. It was so much fun. Bub, what was that? You here? What was that story? Remember Dasima told you to take him to get a toothbrush? And then you said, what should I do? He doesn't want to go. I have to take the toothbrush. I said, just let him do what he wants to do. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's why I love Krishna Das.
Tell the story from the beginning.
Okay. Well, it's a little different. I said, this is my first time in close proximity to Ram Dass, so I'm not quite sure how to act. And, Parvati and Radha said, don't let him get in and out of the hot tub by himself. And I'm like, my God, do I have that kind of authority? And so I told KD, and KD goes, let him do whatever the fuck he wants to do. And I told it to Ram Dass, and he goes, that's why I love that guy. That's the short story.
But what happened about the toothbrush?
That was a hairbrush.
A hairbrush. Oh, what a hair. You didn't have any hair.
We're driving to Walmart, and he says, well, what are you getting? I said, well, they asked me to get a hairbrush for you. And he said, I hate it when they treat me like a high imbecile. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I go, Ram Dass, you know, you're my icon. I really don't know how to act around you, but I can tell you when you're with me, you're not going to get hurt. You're not going to fall over. You're going to be fine. And everything changed from that point on. You're just like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, okay. So that was the beginning of my relationship with him.
I see. Okay, good. Can you imagine? I mean, it's extraordinary the way things evolve. And Maharaji just sits there, wrapped up in a blanket, and the whole world just revolves. All the people who were affected by Ram Dass meeting Maharaji. So many people around the world, so many different ways. Quite extraordinary. Any questions? Anything anybody want to talk about? Uh-oh.
Good morning.
Oh, hold on. Yeah. Crank this up, low end off, please. Go ahead.
Will you share the story?
Wait a second. Hold on. I should start there was a band called Old and in the Way. That's what I should start. I got to put my hearing aids in or I'll just be reading lips forever. Whoops, got to turn them on first. I love these things. It changed my life. Really extraordinary. I got so tired of hearing myself say, what? What? I stopped saying it, and I stopped listening to people, and I just let them talk. And they thought, oh, wow, he's so cool. Couldn't hear a thing. Okay.
I was hoping that you could share this story that Sri Siddhi Ma had Jaya tell you about the train with Javanti Ma and the fakir, and also if there was anything that you could share about the Taoist dedication for her shrine.
So I had quit singing with people. I had started in August 1994. And by March 95, I was finished. Like, you know the story. And of course, I was very upset and very in a lot of despair about it because the only, it was the only thing I could do to save myself, and I was not able to do it because of me. And so there was nothing. It's like trying to pick yourself up like this, It's not going to work. So I went back to India, and I'm hanging out with my Indian parents, the Tiwaris, and Siddhi Ma came up to the hills and stayed back to Kenchi. And we started going to see her. And anyway, so at one day I'm in the temple, and I told her I needed to speak to her. So they called me over, and she knew I was having a really hard time. So she asked Jaya, her disciple attendant, to tell me the story. So Jaya told me this story. She said they were up in Rishikesh at the temple there, and they had plans to go to Chennai by train from Delhi. And they had reservations on the train for 40 people. Many devotees were all going to go. And of course, they made those reservations long in advance because it's hard to get so many reservations. So the day before they're supposed to drive down to Delhi, Jivanti Ma, the other Ma, who Siddhi Ma and Jivanti Ma were together every day for 50 years at least, if not more. So Jivanti Ma had a heart attack. She was always having heart attacks. Small little heart attacks, but heart attacks. So they had no option though, because all these people were waiting already in Delhi to get on the train to Chennai. So with great difficulty, they helped Jivanti Ma into the train, into the car. I mean, she could barely breathe, and she was in a lot of pain. But they drove to Delhi, and they get to the train station, and then they carry her underneath the tracks and up onto the platform in a dandi, a palanquin, a chair that kind of moves. And then they help her into her berth, and then the train takes off late at night. So in the middle of the night, Siddhi Ma needs to use the bathroom. So she and Jaya first, in Indian trains, I don't know if you've ever been there, there's a bathroom on either end of the car. So first they go to one end of the car, and the bathroom is really filthy. So they turn around and walk to the other end of the car. Now, there's a long hallway, and then you make a right turn, and right in front of you is the door to the outside of the train. And then if you make a left, the bathrooms are right there. So they come around the corner, make a right turn, and there's sitting with his back against the door and a blanket or shawl over his head so they couldn't see his face. There was a sadhu, a fakir, sitting there. And as Siddhi Ma walked by, he just went, Jai, like that, Jai. And still, his face is covered. So Siddhi Ma stops and pranams, goes to the bathroom, and Jaya comes over to the Baba and says, Baba, do you know this woman? And he says, she's the mother of the universe. So Jaya goes, like you did. Oh. And Siddhi Ma comes out of the bathroom, pranams to the Baba, who's still covered, can't see his face, and she goes back to her berth. Jivanti Ma, Jaya decided that Jivanti Ma had to meet this Baba, had to see the Baba. So with great difficulty, they made their way down the hallway, because Jivanti Ma can't even breathe. They turn around the corner, and there's the Baba sitting there, and Jivanti Ma goes like this, and the Baba reaches into his jola, his little bag, and he pulls out fresh, hot puris and starts breaking them into pieces and feeding them into Jivanti Ma's mouth like this. And she's weeping, because this is the way Maharaj used to feed her. So after a few minutes, Jaya takes Jivanti Ma back to her berth, and she rushes back to see the Baba, just as the train is pulling into the station. And as she gets to that place, the Baba's standing up with his back to her. He's opened the door to the train, and she says, "Baba, is there anything I can do for you?" And he takes one step out onto the platform in front of, right there, and he disappears right in front of her eyes, right before it's completely just disappears. So Jaya finished telling me the story. Siddhima looks at me and said, "Krishnadas, no one can understand Maharaji's play, his leela, after he left the body." Ciao. Go. So there it is. What are you going to do with it? I just got a message from Nainital. Anybody?
Hello.
Hello.
This is my first time
I'm sorry.
experiencing you. And I didn't look anything up before I came. I just trusted a friend.
I really am sorry.
No, it's been great. I just wanted to maybe give you the opportunity to say something you haven't said this weekend that you might tell someone that was new.
Run.
Anything else?
Fast. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to the cult. You can check out any time you want, but you can never leave. Welcome to the Hotel Yogaville. Okay, where are you?
As a follow-on to the train story about,
Okay, gotcha.
as a follow-on to that train story, how did that affect you when you were feeling down?
It made me more depressed. Yeah, I mean, everybody else was seeing him and I wasn't. Right? But it was the beginning of chiseling into my brain, and by the end of that trip, everything was okay. Funny to see, the thing is, when I met Ramdas, that's when I met Maharaji. I didn't realize that's what it was, but when I walked into the room where he was sitting in the winter of 68, 69, at his father's place in New Hampshire, I just walked into that room and something happened, and I knew that whatever it was I was looking for was real. It was in the world, and you could find it, right? That's when I really got depressed. Because if it's real and it's in the world and you can find it, then where is it? But that was the beginning of the rest of my life. And the only trouble happened is when I met him, and I got attached to his body. And that was that. Then that's all I wanted to do, was be there close to the blanket. And he did let me stay for 2.5 years. So one night, after, I guess, I don't know, it must have been 6 months or so, we were at Dada's house, in Allahabad. Yeah, it must have been. And I had to go. When you get to India on a tourist visa, it's 3-month visa, and after 3 months, you go to a tourist office and you extend it for 3 more months, and then after 6 months, they send you home. So I had been there 6 months, and I had extended it at this place in Gaya, near Bodh Gaya, because that's where we were at the time. So I brought all my stuff to Dada's house, and I told Dada, Maharaji was there, of course, at the house. I told Dada that I was going to leave in the middle of the night and catch the train to Gaya to get my visa extended. And then I said, but I'm not leaving without seeing Maharaji. So he said, okay. So I'm just waiting out there on the porch with all my stuff, and Dada comes and gets me, and I go in. Maharaji says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to go back to Gaya and try to get my visa extended. Okay, so go. I said, but they'll probably send me back to America. So go. Yeah, I don't care. I know you're everywhere. Get out of here. So then I'm out there still waiting for the time to leave, and Dada comes out and said, Maharaji says not to go. He's going to send you to Kanpur to his devotee who's the chief of police, who's going to stamp your passport. So I had another year. And he did that twice. So I stayed 2.5 years. Who was I telling that story to? Did I tell you all that story about the old lady yesterday who came for darshan? I did, yeah. Somebody has a memory. That's good. Anybody?
I'm going to ask you to tell us about KK and the movie and that whole thing.
She gets paid to ask me that question. Okay, KK. Okay, on June 7th in New York, we're doing a daytime, a whole day of nonsense. And a lot of the old, we're the old devotees now. How horrible. I pity you all. Anyhow, so a lot of the old Westerners who were there with Maharaji are going to come, and we're going to tell stories. And one thing that we're going to do is we just made a movie about KK. KK Shah lived in Nainital. He grew up in Maharaji's lap, basically from about the 8 years old. And he was a very special guy, a very special being. He worked in the town office as a clerk. But whenever Maharaji came up to the hills, KK just went to see Maharaji. And yet, every day, his name was on the roster of signing in for work on time. Huh? He had a very unique relationship with Maharaji. It was of a spoiled child with his grandfather. Maharaji sit down, he would stand up. Maharaji said eat, he wouldn't eat. Don't eat, he would eat. Go away, he would stay. Stay, he would go away. I mean, this was their game they played. It was so beautiful. So one day I told Ramdas, after about 1.5 years, I said, I'm going to go find Maharaji. He said, well, I can't tell you where he is. I said, that's okay, I'll find him. Can you imagine? Yeah. Anyway, he saved me. He said, no, wait. Okay, here's my friend's address in Nainital, KK Shah. You write to him and see what happens. So I wrote to him, and I got a letter back in a couple of weeks, and it said, wonderful to hear from you. Ramdas is such a great being. What did he say? Maharaji's not in the hills at this time, at his temple in Kenchi. So now we had it. But when he returns, I'll take your letter to him, and then I'll write back to you. Okay. So a few weeks later, I get a letter back, and it says, Maharaj returned to the hills, and after some days I had the opportunity to see him, to go to visit with him. As you know, great saints do not call the devotees to come to them, but their doors are always open. So if you're traveling in India, you can come and have his darshan, no problem. Great. Green light, right? Not exactly. Many years later, like 10 years later, KK looks at me and he says, "Did I ever tell you what really happened that day?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I brought you a letter." Also, there was a letter from Ramesh Radas and Danny Goldman. So 3 letters. I brought your letters when I went to see Maharaji, and I came in the room, and he was talking to some people. So I sat down, and I put your letters on the bed next to him, and I began to peel an apple and cut it into small pieces to feed to him, because he had 4 teeth. So you got these soft apples, and kind of gum them, you know. So I'm feeding him the apple, and he notices the letters, and he says, "What's that?" And I told him that they were letters from students of Ram Dass, and they want to come see you. "Nay, tell them not to come. What do I have to do with this?" And he goes back to his conversation. So, but the beauty of the play is that it was KK with the letters. If it had been another devotee, very simply, I would have gotten the letter saying, "Maharaji says not to come, goodbye." But KK, you see, when the day that Ram Dass met Maharaji for the first time, KK was the translator. And after their meeting, Maharaji turns to KK and he says, "Take him home and give him tea and double roti toast, white bread toast, and take care of him." So KK took Ram Dass home, and they became very close friends. And KK felt his seva, his service, was to help Ram Dass, and we were Ram Dass's friends, and so his seva was to help us. And Maharaji was now interfering with the very seva that he gave KK to do, and KK was not going to stand for that. So KK began to pout. He stops feeding Maharaji the apple, and he goes. When KK pouted, the 3 worlds trembled. Nobody could pout like KK. Unbelievable. And Maharaji says, "Kailash, what's the matter? What's the matter?" And KK wouldn't look at Maharaji. Maharaji pushed his head up. KK would look away. And when he took his head away, and this happened like 2 or 3 times. Finally, Maharaji throws his hands up and says, "Okay, tell him what you want." Tell him what you want. So what did he write? As you know. He didn't lie, but he also didn't tell the truth. As you know, great saints do not encourage the devotees to come to them, but their doors are always open. That's how we got there. My whole life, hanging on a little thread like this. Or so it seems. Yeah.
This pertains to a while ago. When you said that, it's very simply said. Thank you. Namaste for being here, and everyone. Thank you. When you said Ram Dass had them, what does he say to the audience? We have you. So that's all. You have us, we hope.
Don't give her the mic again. Look at the band out there partying. Like a bunch of caged animals released. Where are you? Okay.
I thought that was a very apropos statement for my question. We live in the way that we hear these things like Neem Karoli Baba and all these magical stories, Paramahansa Yogananda and all the stories. And then they have their disciples like you and Ram Dass and Kriyananda. And now we're like post-disciple era almost. And we don't really see a lot of enlightened gurus as the main teachers of spirituality. And why do you think that is?
Actually, I don't think it's any different than it ever was. That's just your version of the story for now, which is fine. That's what you got. It may not even be true, but you believe it. So, enlightened beings are always here. They could never be anywhere else. And we are getting exactly what we need every moment of every day. There's no slippage in the system. Absolutely no slippage. But if you sit around waiting, not that you're doing that, but if you sit around waiting for somebody to come and do some miracle to get your attention, it's going to be a long wait. So deal with the stuff now, and you never know what'll happen. But don't sit around waiting. And you're not. I mean, obviously you came here. That took some effort. There must have been some interest in something. That's something you should promote within yourself and let grow. And one time, many years ago, someone came to Maharaji and said, Baba, and can you imagine, Baba, the world is in such bad state. In the 60s? He said, I wish there was a king like Janaka. You know who Janaka was? Janaka, King Janaka. He was Sita's father, adopted father. Sita was found in a furrow in a field. She was the daughter of the earth, actually, and she came up from the earth. That's what they say. But he was also what they call a Raja Rishi, an enlightened king. And this guy says to Maharaji, I wish there was a king who could take care of the world like Janaka. And Maharaji said, there is a king, much greater than Janaka. And if it has to go this way, let it go. That's pretty tough, huh? But what are you going to do? What we can do is take care of our own hearts, and we can take care of the hearts that we meet, and we can do the best we can. But ultimately, we are not in control individually. However, our mind, the mind of beings, is what's creating this world the way it is right now. Not some outside force. Our minds. The anger, the fear, the shame, the violence, the grief, the selfishness in our minds. That's what's making the world what it is. So each one of us can work on that, and in doing so, lessen the amount of bullshit out there. So that's what we have to do. There's no waiting around anymore. We can't allow the world, what's going on in the so-called outside world, to destroy us, to destroy our hearts. If we do, what good are we to anybody? So, we have a lot of power, but not in the sense of being able to control earthquakes, volcanoes, and certainly not being able to control the minds of other people. Everybody's free to be as stupid as they can. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. But we can be as a force for as much good as we can, and that's what our responsibility is. But anger makes more anger, and fear makes more fear. So we have to examine our own motivations for doing things. and for how we go through our day, and clean up our stuff as best as we can. And that will affect people around us in the best way possible. But as far as enlightened beings, they're always here. They're here, we're not. You know, they're here. It's interesting. Western culture is just a few hundred years old. So-called Western culture. The age of reason. Ha! It's rather recent, you know. There's been stuff going on for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. But we've lost touch with all that, mostly. So we think the way we see the world is the way it is. Maybe, maybe not. But regardless of any of that, our best strategy is to calm our minds and open our hearts and not let anything come in the way of that. Not let anyone destroy your heart, nor should you destroy anybody else's heart. One time Maharaj said, it's better to love everyone than to try to figure it out. So.
I have another question.
Where are you?
In the back. Hi. Can you see me?
Oh yeah, the newbie.
Yeah, the newbie. I figured I'd throw out the question that I have. Maybe you'll know the answer. How do you handle a situation where someone's asking for help, but they're acting like they don't want it, and they're kind of pushing it away if I give it? But when I pull back, they're like, why aren't you helping me? It's a very tough place to be.
Mm. You're right. It's a tough place. Good luck.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You learn by living, you know, and there's no quick answers to anything. You obviously see the situation. That's good. Do the best you can.
Hi.
Where are you?
Here.
Right where? There. Okay. I'm right here. Where? It's the board guy. Yeah. You should never tell me your real thoughts. Yeah. I'm just teasing. What's up?
So my question is, why the universe was created this way? Like, we need to get enlightened, and then like there are people who are not enlightened, and there are people who are enlightened, and like why this structure is this way? Why this universe is created this way?
You know, I don't know if I should be pleased or offended at that question. If you really think I might know the answer, I'll pretend I do, you know. And if you're just fucking with me, God damn it, I'll kill you. So no, you should read the Rig Veda. And there's a hymn called the Creation Hymn in the Rig Veda. And it goes very simply. In the beginning, there was this, and then this, and this, and this happened, and this happened, and, you know, like this. And in the end it says, and what's the reason? How did this all happen? Why did this all happen? And they say, only he in highest heaven knows. Or maybe he doesn't. So I'm not sure if this is highest heaven. No, you know, it's iffy. Just find out who you are first, and then maybe the rest of the answers will come. It's a big enough job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for all your wisdom that you've shared with us the last couple days. But
That's what you call it, huh?
yeah, words of wisdom, I think, for me. And I have one more that I would like to ask. And if you could share, if there's one thing that we should all, or me, I'm talking about myself, go away with today, what would that be and why?
Wait, I was okay till the last word. What would that be and why? Why what?
Why those words?
Oh.
Where do they come from?
So
How
what,
did you get there?
another, what I'm going to say, and then why did I say what I'm going to
Yes.
say? Just trying to get this right so I can avoid the ditch that you want me to fall in. Well, really, I mean, I would hope that everybody had a nice time and had the feeling that maybe you could do something to help yourself in life. And that you don't have to feel like a victim of circumstance or even a victim of your own quote-unquote karmas. It's not really like that at all. But that if you got a taste of some practice that you could do to help yourself calm your ass down and become a better human being, that would be good. Even for Hindustani log bhi. Yeah. So that's about it, you know. More than that, I can't even imagine. But we're sharing our space together, you know. We're sharing our this moment. And we get a chance to, you know, satsang, sangha is the most important thing, really. Buddha once asked his attendant and great disciple, Ananda, what's the most important thing in spiritual life? And Ananda said, well, the Buddha. And Buddha said, no, the sangha. The community of seekers. If we surround ourselves with in negative circumstances, negative people, if we find ourselves in that situation, it's very hard to not be reactive. It's very hard not to be reactive anyway, but certainly in difficult circumstances, it's even harder. So we try to find people that are probably not going to put a knife in your back the minute you turn around. They'll wait till you face them. No, but so that's good. And then you spend time with those people if you can. And, you know, there's a book a friend of mine wrote called Going on Being. It's written, Mark Epstein is a Buddhist psychiatrist. And he revisits the story of Buddha's enlightenment, and he goes back and reads it in the scriptures, and then he retells it, and he says, when the Buddha was a young boy, his father, the king, was doing a ceremonial plowing of a field, a ritual plowing of a field. And the young boy, Gautama, was sitting under a tree watching him work in the distance. And while he was sitting under that tree, he slipped into a very deep state of consciousness, a very blissful state of consciousness. Just sitting there. He wasn't obviously not trying. And that passed, of course. So then many years go by, and there he is sitting under the tree, the Bodhi tree, or a tree, and he's doing very severe practices. He's not eating. He's barely breathing, like a few breaths a day. And he sits and sits and sits, and they say you could see his bones, and you could see the light through his body. I mean, he'd become almost translucent. And there were 5 disciples sitting near him, waiting for him to get enlightened, so they could have some of that. And the Buddha's sitting there, and eventually he falls into tremendous despair, because he's doing everything that can be done according to the practices that were known in those days. Everything. He's denied food, pleasure, almost denying air, everything. I mean, he's really doing this austerity to the max. And he sees that if he does any more, he's going to die. The body's going to go. And he still won't have achieved what he's looking for, what he's waiting for, because what he knows it could be. And so he's sitting there in terrible despair. And as he's sitting there, a memory comes to him of that day when he was a boy. And he remembers the feeling he had. And he feels pleasure just sitting there. And being the Buddha, he says, well, what is this? Pleasure? That's not cool. And then he examines the feeling. And to put it simply, he sees that this pleasurable feeling did not come from the meeting of the senses with a pleasurable object. Nor does it come from the separation of the senses from a painful object, which would also give pleasure, a relief. So he says, if it's not one of those two things, then it must be natural. There must be no cause for that. It must be natural. So he thinks, whoa. I know he said that. Whoa. Maybe this is the way to enlightenment, through this feeling of okayness, basic, simple okayness, which is something we deny ourselves every minute of every day. And then a woman walks by carrying a bowl of milk or dahi or something, right? And he puts his hands out and he thinks, maybe I should eat something. Maybe he was Jewish. Anyhow, he has some of that, and the first thing that happens, his disciples look at each other and go, oh, Gautama has left the path, and they go off. And then he wanders a little further, sits down under this other tree, which is now known as the Bodhi tree. So that's the deal. That's the deal. There is this basic okayness inside of us that's been crushed. And every day we crush it because we carry on the behaviors we were taught and learned from our life experiences. And so, if we only wouldn't crush ourselves every day, we'd probably be okay. And the world would probably be okay.
Could you share a story about the pattern that your guru wears and you wear?
Let me see. Well, Maharaji wore a blanket all the time, most of the time. And Dada used to say that he had two blankets. He had the outer blanket, which we saw, but he also had an inner blanket behind which he hid his true nature, because we couldn't handle it. We'd be burnt to a crisp, basically. And so he wore the outer blanket to hide his body, because underneath the blanket he was always doing mudras. Stuff was appearing on his body when he would take other people's diseases on, sores, all kinds of things. And then they come and they go. So he hid all that from us. As far as me, he told me to wear red. I had to dye everything I had red, even my longoti. My underwear had to be red. And so when I came back to America, I thought, well, there was this other group of whatever that wore red, which I did not want to be associated with. So I started wearing plaid with red in it. That's the whole secret story. That's it. Finally, you know everything about me that there is to know. I'll see ya. Oh, come on.
Hey,
Thank you. Yeah.
over here,
Over there.
Iceland. I wanted to ask you if you...
You were over there yesterday, right?
I know, I moved.
No, you shouldn't do that. It's very disorienting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you would mind sharing your experience. You mentioned yesterday going to Auschwitz and what you did there and what your personal experience was, if you mind.
I do mind, but I will say a few words about it. No, I don't mind. Well, I went there because Bernie, I avoided it for many years. And then one day I drove him back to the place he was staying, and we went around behind the house so he could smoke a cigar outside. And we were sitting there together in the dark. And he says, I want you to come to Auschwitz. So I had to go. The idea of the retreats they do there is to bear witness to the suffering. It's bearing witness retreat. It's about bearing witness. It simply means to bear witness to it, because he felt there were many souls there who were lost and needed someone to see them, to witness, to be with them, there for them. Not to save them or to do anything, only to bear witness to the situation. And through that, liberate the situation. So we spent all day in the camp, from early morning to late at night. We went right outside the gates to have soup and bread for lunch, which is what they might have been given once in a while. And we did different ceremonies inside the camp. There was a point they called the, I forget exactly what they call it. It was called the distribution point. It was the end of the tracks where the trains came into the camp and people were herded off of the outside, out of the cars. And at that moment, they were sent either to the gas chambers, or if they could work, they were sent to the barracks. I forget exactly what the point is called, but it was the end of the tracks. So we would sit in a large circle around that and recite the names of the dead, all of us. Each person had like a page or two to recite. And you should see, right opposite me, there was this German woman reciting, so just weeping, you know. Very powerful. Very powerful. And they take us into the building where people were, the showers where they were gassed, and then there was a mountain of glasses and a mountain of shoes. But because Bernie was there, he kept the group facing in the right direction, because the tendency is to get into that, and why not, that emotional, the deep sadness and despair and horror, which was, you had to witness that. You couldn't go into it. So whenever it would get a little out of hand and people would selfishly go into those emotional states, he would lift us out of it and keep us doing what we should be doing, which was to be there fully, not to be lost in the emotion, but to be there fully. It's a completely different thing. Me, the first time I went there, oh boy, the first thing you see, it's kind of we were there in the fall, and the trees were all kinds of colors, and the grass was green, right? The first thing the guide says to us, said, in those days there was no grass and no leaves. They ate everything they could because there was no food. They ate the leaves off the trees, the bark off the trees, and the grass off the ground. And so I would walk around and I look up at the sun and I say, you son of a bitch, how the fuck can you shine on this place? How dare you? For days, I was like, how dare you shine on this place? You know? And then one day, I went, oh, it's your nature to shine on it all, the good and the bad. And then I had a glimpse of what unconditional love is. It just shines. It does not judge. It shines. Yeah. Very powerful. And on the second year I went there, and the last year I went there, I had been on tour, so I had the harmonium with me. So I snuck off to the women's barracks. And I was going to go in and sing. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to do some Devi Puja, some mantras to the goddess at the women's barracks, right? So I go in and I sit down. And I'm all alone, right? Nobody visible. And I sit down, and immediately I felt there were more people in that room than I'd ever been in a room with. I could barely move. I was surrounded by people, by women, by souls. And I saw how pretentious it was for me to think I was going to do Devi Puja. So I asked, I said, what should I sing to you? And he said, sing to the children. Sing to their children who've been whisked away and thrown in the gas chamber. That's what they wanted to hear. So there I was, in Auschwitz, in the women's barracks, singing Gopala, Gopala. And they loved it. So it was intense. And the whole thing came out of Bernie's heart and his inner strength and his being. He was an incredible being. It's 11:49, which means we're 4 minutes over. And if it's okay, we'll call it a day, unless anybody's dying of something. Okay. Thank you, and I'll see you around. Hello, how are you? What happened?
Hari Om. A couple of things before we all leave.